In the year 1162, between modern-day Mongolia and Siberia, a ruthless leader and great conqueror was born, the king of kings, a brutal barbarian and the founder of the largest connected land empire the world has ever seen. His name Genghis Khan. Genghis, together with his sons and grandsons, went to war on an immense scale, and in only 25 years the Mongol army conquered more territory than the Romans had done in 400. By the time of his death in 1227, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, encompassing around 10 million square miles. The empire was vast, measuring the same size as the African continent and larger than the United States, Canada, Mexico, Central America and the Caribbean islands combined, making Genghis Khan one of the most successful military commanders the world has ever known. Born in 1162 to the name Temujin, he was the son of a local chieftain and was said to have been born clutching a blood clot, a sign from heaven that he would become a great warrior. Temujin experienced grief and suffering from an early age, with his father being poisoned by a rival tribe when he was only 9 years old. After his father's death, the tribe abandoned Temujin and his family, as Mongol tribes would only follow a strong and respected leader, forcing them to survive in the harsh conditions of the steppes by themselves. It was during this time that Timit had killed his half-brother, who had been accused of hoarding food while others starved. This allowed Temujin to gain control over the tribe, and soon he was leading it alongside his lifelong friend and blood brother Jim Yuka. 10 years later, Temujin understood that his small tribe in the open grasslands of the steppes was weak and exposed, so he sought to bolster his numbers by marrying into a local tribe he soon found bore to his first wife. Not only did Temujin gain a loving companion, but more importantly the fighting force that came with her. Temujin was not fated to have a peaceful life, as it would not be long until adversity returned to him. The powerful market tribe came and raided his camp. Many in stealing bought away. Temujin and Jamika managed to escape and made their way to the local Khan, who had fought aside Temujin's father, begging for help. The Khani accepted their plea, and soon Temujin was at the head of a massive fighting force. Shortly after, he took swift and decisive action against those who wronged him. Heading to the market camp in the mountains of northern Mongolia, he slaughtered the offending tribe, taking his wife back in the process. These cruel conditions Temujin faced in his earlier years helped shape him into the face warlord he was to become, and taught him not only how to deal with his enemies but also the value of forging friendships and alliances. As time progressed, the tribe became divided as the fundamental differences between the two leaders became apparent. Temujin valued talent wherever it came from, whereas Jammu thought only those who had a noble birth should be respected. This led to a rift in the tribe and an eventual split, with Jammu Khan now lead in a clan of his own. It would be 2 years until the pair would meet again, in which Jammu's men slaughtered Temujin unprepared and outnumbered tribe. The generals Jammu Khan captured also faced a gruesome death, being boiled alive. When Temujin found out what had happened, he was furious, and it's said from that day on he would seek revenge and pledged never to be defeated again. In 1204, the two finally fought each other in a pitched battle which would be crucial for the survival of the Mongol people and would determine Temujin's specialist commander. Tribesmen were trained in both archery and horsemanship, and when the battle began they used this to deadly effect. Bows were made from wood and animal bone and had a shooting range of 500 yards. The military ranking was also based on the idea of meritocracy, so it was in this battle that Temujin proved his military genius. He told each warrior to light 5 fires on the eve of the battle, so Jammu scouts would report an immense fighting force, striking fear into the heart of the enemy. As dawn broke, both armies advanced, and when close enough, Temujin forces unleashed a barrage of arrows and used cavalry charges to demolish Jammu Kazumi. He then feigned retreat with some of his squadrons, luring his foe into a planned ambush where they were promptly slaughtered. This led to a decisive victory over his former blood brother, who fled from there. Jamika was later betrayed by 2 of his generals and brought before Temujin. When he refused the second chance Temujin offered him, he was given an honorable death, and finally the Mongols were unified under one leader. To honor this great achievement, Temujin was granted a title of Genghis Khan in 1206, meaning universal leader. Genghis Khan soon turned his attention to the vast Chinese dynasties in the east. He knew the emperor would never allow such a strong and unified Mongolia on his borders, and so decided to take the first strike. Heading into China, the Khan's army plundered, raped and killed any who stood in their way until they reached the capital of the north, Zhongdu, now called Beijing. The city was one of the most advanced in the world, sporting 40-foot-high walls that were completely alien to the nomadic Mongols. To get into the city, Genghis Khan used captured Chinese engineers to design siege equipment and camped outside the walls, cutting off vital supply lines. This lasted for so long that The Chinese began to starve to death by the thousands, many turning to cannibalism. When the Mongols went to take the city, they met reduced resistance and were able to take it with relative ease. This led to a month of plunder and destruction that enhanced Genghis Khan's reputation as a bloodthirsty murderer and brought the Mongol Empire to new heights. His army continued west after the conquest, managing to reach Eastern Europe, showing little sign of slowing down. Genghis Khan died in 1227 during his final conquest into China. According to the secret history, his last words were, "I have conquered for you a large empire, but my life was too short to take the whole world that I leave to you." He appointed his son Ogodai as his successor in the hopes that he could complete the divine mission. Genghis Khan was buried in an unmarked grave with all those who arranged the funeral apparently executed in order to keep the location a secret. Genghis Khan left a remarkable legacy not only in blood and warfare but also in his descendants, as he took the most beautiful women as prizes from every conquest. Naturally, he had many children, so many in fact the recent study suggests that 1 in every 200 people living today are directly descended from him. Under Genghis Khan's rule, there also developed a complex and sophisticated society which paved the way for modern-day civilization. The Mongols disregarded race, ethnicity, and class, creating a society based on meritocracy where individuals were rewarded on ability and talent above all other things. They also practice religious tolerance, allowing the Mongol Empire to become one of the most diverse in history. In an attempt to unify the feuding tribes of Mongolia, Genghis Khan gave land to each tribe and established a legal system where he laid out uniform punishments so as to create a combined society that abided by the same laws. He also forbade the enslavement of any Mongol, helping to solidify equality for all citizens. He also offered protection for the merchants traveling across his empire, leading to the re-establishment of the legendary Silk Road that enabled the transportation of goods and technology from east to west. This path was so valued and well protected, it was said that a man could walk from one end of the Mongol Empire to the other with a gold plate on his head and never be attacked. This also enabled the spread of Chinese culture and ideas to the growing civilizations. In Europe, trade surged, and new technology such as paper, gunpowder, and the compass made its way to the West, igniting the Renaissance just a few generations later. While there is no doubt that Genghis Khan was a cunning and ruthless warlord, it is debatable whether he was just an evil barbarian or managed to benefit the world in some way. While there is truth to the idea that he was a genocide or maniac, he also created a diverse and equal society under which the trade of both technology and culture flourished. In this way, Genghis Khan started an empire that had a wide and long-lasting impact on civilization in both the East and the West, the repercussions of which could still be felt today. Rewritten content. Within the year 1162, among present-day Mongolia and Siberia, a ruthless chief and extraordinary conqueror changed into born the king of kings, a brutal barbarian and the founding father of the biggest related land empire the globe has ever seen. His name Genghis Khan. Genghis collectively along with his sons and grandsons went to war on a tremendous scale, and in simplest 25 years the Mongol military conquered greater territory than the Romans had executed in 400. By the time of his loss of life in 1227, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, encompassing around 10 million square miles. The empire turned into good-sized, measuring the identical length because the African continent and larger than the United States, Canada, Mexico, Imperative Theus, and the Caribbean islands blended, making Genghis Khan one of the maximum successful army commanders the sector has ever recognized. Born in 1162 to the Khal Temujin, he became the son of a local chieftain and was stated to had been born clutching a blood clot, a sign from heaven that he could emerge as an extraordinary warrior. Temujin experienced grief and suffering from an early age, together with his father being poisoned by a rival tribe whilst he became only 9 years old. After his father's demise, the tribe abandoned Temujin and his own family, as Mongol tribes might best follow a sturdy and respected leader, forcing them to survive within the harsh situations of the steppes by way of themselves. It became throughout this time that Timit had killed his half-brother who were accused of hoarding food while others starved. This allowed Temujin to advantage control over the tribe, and soon he became leading it along his lifelong friend and buddy Jim Yuka. 10 years later, Temujin understood that his small tribe in the open grasslands of the steppes became weak and exposed, so he sought to bolster his numbers by marrying right into a local tribe he quickly found bore to his first wife. Now not only did Temujin advantage a loving accomplice, however, more importantly, the combating force that got here along with her, Temujin become not fated To have a peaceful lifestyles as it might no longer be lengthy till adversity again to him the powerful market tribe came and raided his camp, many in stealing brought away Temujin and Jamaica controlled. To break out and made their manner to the nearby Khan who had fought a domain Imogen's father begging for help. The Khani standard their plea and soon Temujin changed into at the pinnacle of a huge combating force rapidly after he took speedy and decisive action in opposition to folks who wronged him. Heading to the market camp inside the mountains of northern Mongolia, he slaughtered the offending tribe, taking his spouse back in the process. Those merciless conditions Temujin faced in his in advance years helped shape him into the face warlord he was to come to be and taught him no longer simplest a way to deal with his enemies but also the cost of forging friendships and alliances. As time improved, the tribe became divided because the fundamental variations between the two leaders have become obvious. Temujin valued talent anywhere it got here from, whereas Jammu thought handiest those who had a noble start ought to be respected. This brought about a rift inside the tribe and an eventual breakup with Jammu Khan. Now lead in an extended family of his personal. It would be 2 years till the pair might meet again, in which Jammu's guys slaughtered Temujin unprepared and outnumbered tribe. The general's Jammu vehicle captured additionally confronted a grotesque death, being boiled alive, whilst Temujin determined out what had happened he become livid, and it stated from that day on he might seeking revenge and pledged in no way to be defeated again. In 1204 the two sooner or later fought every different in a pitched war which might be important for the survival of the Mongol people and might determine Temujin expert commander. Tribesmen have been trained in each archery and horsemanship, and when the warfare started they used this to lethal impact. Bows have been made from wooden and animal bone and had a taking pictures range of 500 yards. The army ranking turned into additionally based on the idea of meritocracy, so it became in this war that Temujin proved his military genius. He instructed every warrior to light 5 fires. On the eve of the warfare, Sir Jammu scouts could file a huge preventing pressure, placing fear into the coronary heart of the enemy. As sunrise broke each armies advanced, and when near sufficient Temujin forces unleashed a barrage of arrows and used cavalry fees to demolish Jammu Kazumi. He then feigned retreat with a number of his squadrons, luring his foe into a planned ambush where they have been promptly slaughtered. This brought about a decisive victory over his former buddy who fled from the atoll. Jamaica was later betrayed via of his generals and purchased earlier than Temujin, whilst he refused the second one chance Temujin offered him. He became given an honorable death, and in the end the Mongols had been unified beneath one chief. To honor this remarkable fulfillment, Temujin was granted a title of Genghis Khan in 1206, which means widespread leader. Genghis Khan quickly grew to become his interest to the vast Chinese dynasties in the east. He knew the emperor would in no way allow such a strong and unified Mongolia on his borders, and so determined to take the first strike. Heading into China, the Khan's military plundered, raped and killed any who stood of their way until they reached the capital of the north. As Ongdu, now called Beijing, the metropolis became one of the maximum superior within the international sporting 40-foot high partitions that have been completely alien to the nomadic Mongols. To get into the metropolis, Genghis Khan used captured Chinese language engineers to design siege equipment and camped out of doors the partitions, slicing off important supply lines. This lasted for see you later. That the Chinese commenced to starve to dying by means of the hundreds, many turning to cannibalism. When the Mongols went to take the metropolis, they met reduced resistance and had been able to take it with relative ease. This brought about a month of plunder and destruction that more advantageous Genghis Khan's recognition as a bloodthirsty murderer and brought the Mongol Empire to new heights. His navy persevered west after the conquest, coping with to reach Japanese Europe, displaying little sign of slowing down. Genghis Khan died in 1227. Throughout his final conquest into China, according to the secret records, his closing words had been, "I have conquered for you a large empire, but my life turned into too quick to take the entire world that I depart to you." He appointed his son, O God I, as his successor. In the hopes that he ought to hold the divine venture, Genghis Khan became buried in an unmarked grave, with all folks who organized the funeral seemingly executed with a view to preserve the vicinity. A mystery. Genghis Khan left a tremendous legacy, not simplest in blood and struggle, but additionally in his descendants, as he took the maximum stunning women as prizes from every conquest. Certainly he had many children, so many in truth the latest take a look at suggests that 1 in every 200 people residing these days are without delay descended from him. Under Genghis Khan's rule there additionally evolved a complex society which paved the way for modern-day civilization. The Mongols not noted race, ethnicity and sophistication, creating a society based on meritocracy in which people were rewarded On capability and talent, principally different things. They also practice non-secular tolerance, permitting the Mongol Empire to grow to be one of the maximum numerous in records in, and try to unify the feuding tribes of Mongolia. Genghis Khan gave land to each tribe and mounted a felony device wherein he laid out uniform punishments so as to create a mixed society that abided by using the equal laws. He additionally forbade the enslavement of any Mongol, helping to solidify equality for all citizens. He additionally supplied protection for the merchants touring across his empire, main to the re-establishment of the mythical Silk Road that enabled the transportation of products and generation from east to west. This course becomes so valued and nicely protected, it becomes said that a man could stroll from one cease of the Mongol Empire to the other with a gold plate on his head and by no means be attacked. This also enabled the unfold of Chinese culture and ideas to the developing civilizations in Europe. Trade surged, a new technology consisting of paper, gunpowder and the compass made its way to the west, igniting the Renaissance only some generations later. While there may be no doubt that Genghis Khan became a cunning and ruthless warlord, it's miles debatable whether he changed into just an evil barbarian or managed to benefit the sector in some manner, even as there is fact to the idea that he became a genocide or maniac. He also created a numerous and equal society under which the alternate of each era and culture flourished. On this way, Genghis Khan started out an empire that had an extensive and long-lasting impact on civilization in both the East and the West, the repercussions of which could still be felt today.